I mean, the leading through change is just so critical. And what are some of the behaviors that you see in leaders that can help teams navigate that? And really, I mean, you started to touch on it, but what do you think the leaders themselves need to help do to facilitate that?
I need to provide context, specifically financial context, and they need to meet the end users and the team where they are. Everyone is on a different journey around the change,
Mhm.
what is happening, why it's happening, what's tomorrow going to look like versus today, how do I become a part of that? And a strong leader provides that context and provides that context at multiple different levels, multiple different ways. Some people need to hear it once. The early adopters, they hear it once, they go, they're they're trained overnight practically, right? Then you have the middle, like, I know this is coming. I don't really know what to do. I don't know what every day is going to look like. I don't fully understand it. I don't know what it means to me. And you've got to break it down. And you got to repeat it 7 times before it kind of gets ingested. And then there's the late change. And those are the ones where you have to figure out, are they on the train and they're just slowly coming because they only want to do it once? Or have they been hit by the train and you've got to move them to a new, more exciting area for them, right? And and that's the hard part of leadership, but it's what leaders do. They should be getting people on board and that process, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, and I really like that last category you identified. And I think for leaders, right, that is so critical because oftentimes those are some of the folks that they are more excited with, like, hey, I like, working in the lab, creating the new idea, right? And sometimes it's best for them to stay there. And so then how do you transfer that knowledge and work, right, to more process oriented folks that are going to help with the scale and things like that? And it's very difficult though, right? Because you often have folks that have very different viewpoints of what's important. I find as the leader, you have to sometimes come in and translate, right? In terms of, hey, we're going through this change here. Both of you are right, but both of you need to understand the value of each other.
And respect that friction.
Yeah.
There is friction that is very important. That challenge, that's not going to work, or that's not really what this is used for, is great friction because it creates something even better at the end.
Yeah.
But a leader has to manage that in a way that it doesn't get personal. It gets to improve the product, and that continuous why, the financial, the the words that were always said to us, don't let perfect get in the way of good enough, right? That timeless quote, and you're like, what does that mean? What does that look like? But asking those hard questions, if you're not asking the hard questions and getting to the hard answers, you set yourself up for failure later. And it's not always going to work. It's those little pivots that make you successful. It's if you wait till the end to do a really big pivot, that's when you're overspent, you've underdelivered, and you have left a whole bunch of people along the route very frustrated and angry.
Yeah. 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 More of the trail of tears, right? I, and I think you bring up like such a great point there too, right? Because that's where, you know, innovation often fails, right? Because the organization lacks that structure, right? Because there's the existing business of, hey, here's, we've already figured those things out. Here's the new business, which may be similar but different, and as an organization, that's really tough from an operational perspective.
And it's funny because you get called in, right? And you're like, we're going to talk about this. And you're like, we've talked about this 400 times. How many more times can we talk about this? And it's like, it's important to kind of come on the journey, but not bring people in so much that it's almost crying wolf every time you're bringing them in. But you have to leave a runway, an innovation runway and a baseline operations behind. Like you've got to have the KPIs, you've got to have the measurements, you've got to understand the actions you're going to take in the next 90 days. What are they really moving? Is it getting you to that end goal? Because innovation although has increased in speed, it does not necessarily move at the speed of light.